Right. So this poem is a haiku from Gordon Thompson. Queen flies to London, caring not about the rain. Now she is at rest. And this poem is from Jo Sanders about her birthday, which actually I think is either tomorrow or Sunday, but she's celebrated already. A lifetime. Yesterday, I celebrated my 95th birthday with one of those afternoon teas, Prosecco for the toast, then on to tiers of succulent sandwiches, smoked salmon to dissolve on the tongue, cream scones freshly baked, ending with little works of art and sweetness to make you smile as you go out again into the rain. I came home and fell asleep for 2 hours. When I awoke, I found the Queen had died. We'd seen it coming, but it arrived as an emergency stop, the country thrown forward, not quite going through the windscreen, but jarred and jolted. The end of an era, everyone said. My era. We grew up as a mirror of the royal family, roughly the same ages, me and my sister also Girl Guides, doing our bit for the war effort. We followed their photos. They played with their dogs, managed in those days to seem like us. Tonight I shed tears at the passing of this revered lady, but perhaps they are really for me and my sister recently gone, now at the end of an epoch, not knowing how to enter this new age. So that's Jo Sanders. So happy birthday, Jo, for tomorrow or the next day.
Very nice poem. Sums it up quite nicely, doesn't it? Welcome, Heather. Nice to see you. And Lorraine's just joined us as well now. So I think we're pretty much almost all here now. Yes, I think we have everyone we're expecting. Oh, Joan Henderson might join us later.
And Jan has arrived, but I think she's...
Jan's not reading, is she, though? Is Jan reading? Or...
Unless the spirit moves her.
Okay, right. So I'll just quickly whisk through the reading order then. So Peter's just read, he started off by reading a poem from the two poets who aren't here this evening. And then well, that's it. He started off with two poets who aren't here this evening. So and then it's Vivian, then it's Steve Juna, then it's Joan if she comes, Gordon, then it's Sue, Jim, Lorraine, Alan, Jane, Anthony, Heather, Peter, and myself. Okay, so Vivian, have you poems for us, please?
I've got two poems. I've got one from an old Croydon Poetry Hour anthology book. The subject was drink, and I wrote two poems about the subject, but this is one of them. It's called Is This a Pub? What are you drinking today, sir? Will it be vodka, G&T, a glass of chilled white wine, or a cocktail? They're on special tonight. The list is up there on the wall. Or a pint of our best bitter. That's lovely, that is. Perhaps even a brandy or liqueur, if you want to push the boat out. Our cider's very popular, sir. We have several varieties for you to sample. Giving alcohol a miss, are we? No problem. We have many different fruit juices, squash, Coke, or lemonade. Even mineral water, should you so desire. What do you want, sir? Is that all? A cup of coffee? I think you've mistaken us for Costa's next door.
No, that's right.
Okay, my second one, I'm reading two, as I said. This is not one of mine, but it's a poem I came across only today. It's an Estonian poet called Jan Kaplinski. I found it in this lovely little book called Essential Poems from the Staying Alive trilogy, which I picked up for £1 at some boot sale, but it's got some real treasures in there, and I think this is one of them. This poem is called The Washing Never Gets Done. The washing never gets done. The The furnace never gets heated. Books never get read. Life is never completed. Life is like a ball, which one must continually catch and hit so that it won't fall. When the fence is repaired at one end, it collapses at the other. The roof leaks. The kitchen door won't close. There are cracks in the foundations, the torn knees of children's pants. One can't keep everything in mind. The wonder is that beside all this, one can notice the spring, which is so full of everything, continuing in all directions, into evening clouds, into the red wing's song, and into every drop of dew on every blade of grass in the meadow, as far as the eye can see, into the dusk. Thank you.
That's a lovely poem, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Well done with your alcohol-free poem as well. Well, that's how it ended up.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Steve, are you ready? We're ready for you, Steve. What have you got for us?
Good evening.
Evening.
This one's called Grateful. Be grateful for the things you are, and you want. Be grateful for the things you have, and you won't envy no one's possession. Take it easy and be yourself. That way you won't be kicked off the shelf. Many have gone through life with immense difficulty, but their positivity and good thought has won them friends. I've learned a lot from life, which I can truly say. Being thankful and grateful when I could have gone astray. So remember, look into yourself and realize the potential and great gift you have to make you smile. And this one is called It Happened. Yes, it happened to me in 2002. I was on the BBC News. I was interviewed about my successful achievement in getting employment after mental health issues. I worked with an organization that supported people into employment. My job was a job coach. This was really fascinating and depicted my years of rehabilitation after coming to London in 1985. Yes, it happened to me. I had my 3 minutes of fame. The next day I was heralded by friends and people who knew me and saw me on the BBC News. Sorry. That was another aspect of my life that brought out happiness and recognition after my great fight with depression. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's great the way you share your life with us, and very brave that you put it into your poem. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And Heather's given you a big heart symbol. So there you go.
It's wonderful.
I think we should all do that. Yeah. Right. Good evening, Gordon. Are we ready for some gloom or cheer? You're muted still. That's it.
Well, this is neither gloom nor cheer, really. I live by the sea at Walton-on-the-Mears, and I write these little poems, which are called Sketch of the Day. Caterpillars crawl atop the water wall, and there, by those busy trees, that harvest breeze. Who knows where a simile diversions lead to entertain our questing minds, enhance and decorate repeats of seas and mills offshore that greet our careless eyes and loving chores on the daily dog poo walk.
Very nice. Have you another one for us, Gordon?
Another one for you. Well, the other ones are a bit dreadful. I like them, but they're very dreadful. This one's very dreadful.
Right.
It's called Hard Choice, and it was the Suffolk Poetry Society who had a theme for a reading, and the theme was bridges. And I wrote, in response to that, I wrote Hard Choice. Driven. I took the Ford, thinking I would do a bridge to cross over, making butterfly progress, hither, thither, willy-nilly, but unsure of the other side, I continued on my journey, knowing there would be an end soon enough. So why the hurry? There's no rush. Just wait. That's rather sad and miserable, isn't it?
Sure.
Beautifully contemplated, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, it's lovely. Thank you, Gordon. Can we push you for another one, or do you want to save yourself a...
Well, no, I mean, they're all miserable.
They're good, though. They're good.
I could, I mean, this one's called Disadvantage, because I do tend to be a political poet. And it's called Disadvantaged. Disadvantage is a very long illness, believed by many to be hereditary. It's largely socially engineered. And the other piece that she sorted out was called Friends, because I suppose when we're writing, and we're particularly writing poetry, I'm thinking about it, we have it partly at the back of our minds that the poetry will continue after we're gone, which is, you know, quite a good idea. Well, it's a nice thought that you will leave something behind. If not much, you will leave something behind. So this piece is called Friend. The vagabond knows, as the rings of the dip of the oars quietly fill, his death won't shake the web of a sleeping spider. Just another Marks and Spencer sandwich to the bin.
That's a lovely, you know, analogy.
Anyway, we've got, that's the 4 that were sorted out.
Okay.
If I'm still here at the second half, if you don't give me the slack,
yeah, try and sort out some more for part 2 then.
I'll sort out something a bit more cheerful.
Don't worry about that. Lovely. Thank you very much. Sue.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And Gordon,
Yes.
my poems are terribly miserable, so I'm following you with more misery. But a first one that not so miserable. It's called Picnic. Picnics were hell when I was young. Our mother's fear would make us tense and terrified, and it would end in tears or wasps or worse. How lovely now to sit with you in fold-up chairs and stretch our legs and talk, not care about the clouds, let insects be, eat what we want. Late afternoon, and I'm dissolving in the sherbet of your smile. This one's called Shipwrecked. It's sort of about what happened to me, where I found I was in the wrong job or the wrong life, the wrong everything. So I put it into kind of an allegory. It's called Shipwrecked. Wrong island. Thought I would blend in, but time kept passing and I've ended up alone. The language here is spun from nettles and there is no art. Music I can fashion from the shell cupped to my ear, a sound of yearning that I long to sing. One day, the tide brings me a bottle, a letter I can read between the lines. I'm making plans now, building my first raft, I got your poem and it saved me. Finally, I understand. Thank you. And then a miserable one, I'm afraid. There's always a miserable one. It's called Set Piece. And it was, the summer that we've had, the very dry summer. I haven't seen you for a while because I've been away, but we had this terrible heat and that inspired this set piece. Under a lily sky, we stumble into grief. Dark crows stab the meadow. Painful daylight, grass scorched gold. Burnt, exhausted summer, trees already thinning. The spaces in between. What's not said, what's not there. The missing, written down in pencil, carelessly erased, absent from this painting, only shadows stay. Thank you.
You are so good with your poetry, Sue. Thank you very much. It's wonderful. Just love it. Love it. Sorry, Jan, I didn't say good evening to you. So good evening and welcome.
Yes,
Would you like to
thank
read tonight, or are you just listening in?
No, I'll just listen tonight if that's okay.
Fine.
Yes.
No, it's very.
Okay,
That's
thank
fine.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're going to enjoy the next poet because it's Jim.
Jim, okay.
Yeah, they're not comic poems. I've done comic poems and sentimental poems, but the serious poems are quite serious. What I'm trying to aim for eventually is something that's serious and not sort of gloomy, if you like. The first one's called, and they were written before this Ukraine crisis, actually, but anybody could see it was something like this was coming. The great cleansing is coming. Preachers of hate send forth emissaries. Anger infects everywhere. Enforced martyrdoms are imminent. The prepared videos, the scripts already written for the guilty, the innocent, and the soon to be damned. The great cleansing is coming. The nuclear wolf prowls on the doorstep, licks its burning lips, as Caesars with their souls of Christ shelter in hidden temples, point to screens where remote-controlled assassins scour radioactive wastelands in Israel, Syria, Kiev, and Iran. The great cleansing is coming. Auguries are torn from the entrails of the dead and the dying. Serpents devour themselves. Arabic poetry is quoted and sung. Musicians and dancing girls ignore the mass slaughter. Drug-crazed soldiers lose their way in storms of sand. And the next one is much of the same, actually. Countdown. Laissez-faire politics means sheep for the slaughter. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. The multinationals are led by psychos who send spaceships to Mars as poverty grows. And the Judas Goat Press seek pieces of silver, make deals with the mighty, treat readers like children. Where is the love, you say? Where is compassion when beautiful women sell sex to the masses? Yes, the left is loony and the right is rabid. Wherever you look, corruption seems sacred. So boom follows bust, people are divided, seek union in warfare, salvation in crises. The great cleansing will come with death and destruction. The aged will perish and so will the children. The nuclear option is a final portal. Oh, the rapture of death, where souls are immortal.
Amen. Amen.
We're certainly hearing a different Jim tonight. Wow. You're here for part two, aren't you, Jim?
Yeah, same stuff, actually, same stuff.
Same stuff. Okay, you're welcome to read another one now, or you can.
No, I'll read them after the break.
Okay, that's fine. Now we don't have Lorraine, do we? I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh, Lorraine. Hi,
Yeah,
Lorraine. Lovely to see you.
Oh, good.
And your sound is coming through very well, by the way.
Well, that's good. Yeah, because my voice isn't marvelous. I've got one to read now and later on. And it's pretty much commentary, the first one. But I'm so ancient that I've seen lots of these things as well. And I've called it Carolus Rex. He's arrived at long last at his destined, much yearned for post. At charity bashes now, you'll hear clinks of glass to a new toast. Will Carolus Rex be yet one more epithet of neutrality to external? Or will he follow banal footsteps with regal traits lurking in their kernel? But he must be reassured he still retain his head, unless he isn't able to upgrade the dire climate instead. Peer back a good 4 centuries and ponder the ancient divine right. But great Uncle David and Queen Wilhelmina threw their towels in as they saw the light. Queen Juliana took hold of the reins, and her mother proudly saw a good 14 years. As abdication, when on offer, sick the champion logical cool Roger Federer's, means a veteran could bask in the skills and charm inculcated in their offspring's new role. But Carolus Rex was overlooked as his mamma wished to play out his centenary goal. Perhaps the new head of state will loosen up a tight feast. Maundy money's appalling, it should be increased. A few pence shows the counting house could hardly spare, as the Duke of York received rather more than his share. What inspired you to walk and not run the Sir Roger Bannister 4 mile? Was it Her Majesty's infectious Hollywood toothy smile? The magical ray that was always on display, as the audience would savour nearer a happier day. So that's what I think. I'll do another one or something else later. So
Okay, Lorraine.
my,
You're one of the few people I know who can take us through contemporary events and past history at the same time. And I think
Yes.
you're wonderful.
Well, I remember
grasp.
1948 when there was the coronation in Holland. One of my uncle went there, and we were supposed to go to
Very good.
Holland then as well, but we went to Belgium that year. But I know all those things happened. And David, the one that abdicated with Wallace, you know. And
Yes.
Anyhow, I enjoy reading about it.
The would-be King Edward, I think he was, yes. Well, he was King Edward for a short while, then he got the push. Okay.
Yeah, true.
Can we move to Alan then? Alan, hi.
Hi there. I've got a topical one. It might seem a bit forward, but basically it is things that you would have seen over August. And this is called It's Coming. The shelves are being emptied and filled with Christmas cards. It's August bank holiday weekend. It's hard not to laugh. It's the 1st of September, the first jack-o'-lantern seen. It's the first day of autumn. Here comes a Halloween. It's the 1st of November, not a witch or cobweb in sight. Every shop is now full of all the Christmas shite. It's the 1st of December. Christmas has lost its thrill. It's been murdered by commercialism and total overkill. After Boxing Day lunch, we eat the last mince pie and drink a beer. Then it's goodbye Christmas. Easter's nearly here. There's no space between anything. One out, one in. Anyway, this is called Portraits. They say it's the sign of a good one when people look at it and stare. It's not just the intimate details like facial lines or individual hairs. It's not the colour of somebody's cheeks or the furrow of a weather-beaten brow, not the dimple on a person's chin or the firmness of an octogenarian's jowl. A good portrait is to capture the essence. It's the thing that will make people see it as you. But the most important feature, some say, is that the eyes follow you around the room. And would you like any more?
Yes, please, Alan, if you have one.
Got one other one?
Yeah.
In a previous life, I used to work in advertising, and then I changed directions about 30 years ago now. But with copywriters that I worked with, we used to use Roger's Thesaurus. But whenever anybody couldn't find it, everybody would just call out, has anybody seen Roger's Dinosaur? And this is called Roger's Dinosaurus. It all began, arose, commenced with a hot drink, beverage, refreshment. We were sitting outdoors, outside, al fresco. She had a sparkle, a twinkle, a shimmer in her eyes. My heart jumped, Mr. Beat leapt, when our gazes met, locked, clasped. We threw, cast, chucked caution to the wind. It felt like love at first sight, immediate, instant. We were drawn, enticed, attracted to each other. I walked, strolled, rushed to her table. We sat, our hands brushed, touched, clasped. We both felt the spark, flash, electricity of something big, huge, enormous. But our thoughts were dashed, broken, destroyed before we started, initiated, embarked. Her husband had no trust, belief, faith in her. She was being watched, observed, spied upon. She told me to leave, go, depart. A non-relationship doomed, condemned, cursed, before it even started, began, initiated. When the private eye, sleuth, detective, in Rogers' Diner saw us. Thank you.
Wonderful, Alan. Thank you. Your first poem, I think we're just driven by people selling us stuff as much as the calendar, aren't we? Because
Yeah,
there was,
exactly.
you know, be souvenirs of Queen Elizabeth soon before long. You know,
Well,
just
there was a chap
commerces.
on the there was a chap on the television the other night. Actually, he'd got his stall set out right near the big queues for the you know, for the lane in state, and he had Union Jack umbrellas. He had silver and gold coloured what do you call it, Big Bens. It was all there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean, times have changed. I mean, when I saw that shot of outside Buckingham Palace, people going, "Wee, wee," when the coffin came, and I thought, really, you know, it was like they were at some sort of party. Anyway, that's my own little. I'm being miserable now, Gordon. Not just you.
We can all be miserable.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. You're around for part 2, are you? Fantastic. All right. Now I'm going to move to my dear friend Jane. Hi, Jane. You're muted. You're still muted. That's it. Hi, Jane.
Unmuted. Hello, everybody.
Oh, Jane.
I'm enjoying the poems so far, even when you think they're
Fantastic.
miserable. They're quite funny.
Yeah.
I've got 2 rain poems. It rains a lot in Dominica, and it rains a lot in England. Those two countries certainly have rain in common. So I'm going to read 2 sort of contrasting poems on rain. First one's called, and there'll be the names of storms and hurricanes written there, yes? Where ignorance is bliss. Tropical storm Erica followed hot on Danny's heels. Quietly, so unobtrusively she came, no wind, just a gentle breeze that stirred through the leafy trees, shafts of lightning, a few peals of thunder. But it was the rain, 12 hours of downpour. As without let, the mist-laden sky kept up her weeping. From the kitchen doorway, when it finally subsided, we watched as busy rivulets rushed down drains, as many waterfalls sprung out of every crevice of an adjacent wall. We shook our heads the next day on hearing the news bulletin advising workers to stay at home. A public holiday on account of a little rain? We scoffed in our ignorance. Without access to radio, TV, or internet news, how could we have known of villages submerged, of schools and churches destroyed, of crops and livestock obliterated, of bodies and bridges washed away, of landlocked folk who needed helicopters to fly in basic aid? Our belated wisdom, now mocking us, seemed far, far worse than folly, as our sadness oh, excuse me, I beg your pardon, as our sadness and survivor's guilt set in. And so that was after one of the really awful hurricanes that hit Dominica. Now this one's called One Rainy Day. It rained buckets the day my mother died and the dry season ended. The sky wept without let, releasing spasms of pent-up pain, which moaned through the wind and shivered up the spines of ancient immortelle trees. The rain fell silently at first, then gushed in torrents, noisy and demented, outdoing my own inner storm. Suspending blinding tears, I became conscious of the blistered earth thirstily guzzling. Once dried up streams, now water powerful, gurgled triumphantly seawards, ferrying new life and hope. I heard the jangling of buckets positioning on the bamboo spouts to catch the all too precious gift of pure rainwater. I heard the laughter of children as they stripped off their scant clothing to offer up ecstatic faces and glistening bodies in joyful thanks for each refreshing drop. At the same time, echoed my mother's voice, mingled with young laughter, the wind's muffled sighs, and the sickly fragrance of white coffee blossoms. In that moment, upon the promise of many a rainy day, reposed my anguish, cushioned, cradled, if not dispelled.
Have you any more for us, Jane, or are you going to wait for part 2?
I'll wait for
Or-
part 2, thank you. I won't be greedy and take too much time.
Well, we've got loads of time, but we really don't know whether, do we? I mean, we have a week of extremes and we all go potty.
Absolutely.
God help us if we survive a hurricane or something like they've had in Pakistan, because it is on another scale, isn't it? It's out of this world.
Yes, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Anyway, lovely poems, thank you. And they really touch lots of chords about the weather and us as people and us as a world. Thank you. I'm going to move to the gentle poems of my friend Anthony. So, Anthony, what have you got for us?
Got 2 poems. First one's called Pale Daughters. Pale daughters don't follow their familial duties or wash behind their ears. Laved in white light, they sport a smile when necessary, compelled by an accidental mischief, penciled in exclusion, rendered in the shade. We won't go dancing on the almost air. And then the next poem is called Letters from Bergfan, which is a place in Germany, and it relates to my German pen friend. In January, you're planning a September recital for your orchestra with your son, Peter. You are reddened by the warmth, creating sounds, whereas I am with my poetry, pushing the boundaries, reading yesterday's year's acceleration, shifting my craft. You like my pastoral poems. I await your sonic bites. You're clearing an audible path from another world, pouring light into your notes. Thank you.
Is that it for now, Anthony?
Yes, it is. Just 2 poems.
2 lovely poems. Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Heather, what have you got for us, please? And welcome again.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. I wrote this a couple of months ago. It was inspired by a weird dream I had. It's called Unsinkable Spirit. As I perched by the light of a fire so bright, whilst the moon beyond pain peeked in, my peace was disturbed by a fright yet unheard, and a sharp, chill fret set in. My book dropped to rest upon knees once blessed, with a calm now tinged with worry. A wetness did fill and threaten to spill from my eyes onto floor like a fountain. With my tallest of length, I rose gathering strength to study my dwelling with burn. Then came a peace followed by a love much increased, tempering my fear and concern. I returned to my reed, yet with less heed, for my senses were still in much awe, when suddenly there a pipe smell in the air which one I knew and adored. A shift in the air forced all my stare to wander from Wordsworth to window, when there stood my love in his sea captain's garb. It was then that I knew I'm a widow. That's it.
That was amazing. Beautiful rhythm and rhyme and wonderfully read. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that. Expect we all did, I think. Amazing.
Very good.
Have you got another one for us, or are you not putting you under
No,
pressure?
no. If there's a part 2, I can print out another one.
There will be after a cup of tea time. There will be a part 2. Yes.
Cup of tea, love a cup of tea.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. It's beautifully read and lovely poem. As I say, it just flowed. Peter, you're muted, Peter.
Yes. I'm going to read a couple of poems by Sheena Pugh, the Welsh poet. Johnny Onions. He comes with autumn when the leaves flake from the rusty branches. His old bicycle itself's a twisted tree, its creaking black hang heavy with the long strings ripened full. He is at the end of things, a sure sign, the sad smile wrinkled in his golden skin. There used once to be more of him. They spoke a tongue that was the one half of a code between old neighbours, a key to fit the lock of cousins' speech, distance but understood. He sells in England now. His customer or he mislaid the other word somewhere. The boats that took our coal to Brittany once brought him back. Surely they don't still run. Only old custom's sake now brings him by, each year the same, a little older grown, a taste sharp as nostalgia on his wares, startling the tongue, stinging the eyes to tears. And sometimes things don't go after all from bad to worse. Some years muscadel faces down frost, green thrives, the crops don't fail. Sometimes a man aims high and all goes well. A people sometimes will step back from war, elect an honest man, decide they care enough that they can't leave some stranger poor. Some men become what they were born for. Sometimes our best efforts do not go amiss. Sometimes we do as we meant to. The sun will sometimes melt a field of sorrow that seemed hard frozen. May it happen for you. That's Sheena Pugh.
Very nice. Thank you, Peter. Very good poems. I've had to move my lamp because my dog's pinched the best position on the sofa. You see, he's gone there where I had my lamp originally. So in order to read my poems, I've had to move my lamp. Anyway, here we go. The first one's called Crumbs. Crumbs are bits of bread left by the serrated knife, swept up with a brush if they spread, wasted bits of the staff of life. Crumbs are what children did say when taken by surprise, by things they didn't know at the start of the day. For example, that their dad told lies. Crumbs are the grains of truth they see when mother yells at dad. Then when they part through infidelity, it's the children who think they've been bad. Crumbs are the bits of comfort of which they stand in need, when the parents in their lives purport that each other is the bad seed. When couples break up, they should know in their heart they must not break the souls of their children apart. Now I've got a bit of a political one here, slightly, if I can find it. It's called the A to Z of the Liz and Rishi show. Did anyone watch that? It was more boring than what's going on at the moment on television. This is the A to Z of the Liz and Rishi show. After awful and abject appeals, beating back all bounds of banality, conservative choices came to congeal, directed downwards in devious duplicity. Each egregious epithet enabled ferocious fighting for first past the post, generating gratuitously garbled guarantees that held hard, however, to horrible hegemony, iniquitously insisting on inequality, just as if justice is junked, knocked and kicked to kingdom come, letting little liberalism live. Manifesto morals manifestly mashed, noting nothing nor opening one's opinions or options, perhaps for public perusal, questioning, query, or quick solutions, realizing radical resolutions might sink their nonsensical solutions. They treat tax cuts as the technical treatment, though unwanted, unwelcome, unacceptable, except to viscounts and the very visibly wealthy, well-to-do, with deep withholding pockets, while X-rated xenophobia horror exists in your extremism. Yes, your wifefrontery yields nothing yet for the poor you zealously zapped in this zoo show. My take on their election campaign. Yeah, well, I think I'll have a rest now and a cup of tea time. So, so we're gonna. Steve, are you ready to give us some more of your lovely poems?
Sure, George.
Right.
This one's called My Friends on the Poetry Group. I thank God for my friends on the poetry group who are brilliant in prose and verse. I feel privileged to be amongst great scholars whose poetry nourished me, and it's a tremendous experience reading out my work. I feel it is important to live good with people. When my grandmother was alive, God bless her soul, she always used to say to me, be good to all the people you meet. There was a reggae song that went, when you're climbing up the ladder of life, be good to all the people you meet, because when you come back down, you are going to pass those same people. So my friends in the poetry group, thank you for your valiant and marvelous work. This one's called Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood is my favorite actor. When I was living in Birmingham, I used to go to the cinema and watch all his films. I like his image and no nonsense attitude and approach. In the spaghetti westerns, he was amazing, especially when he starred with Eli Wallace and Lee Van Cleef. He was just simply my favorite actor. When he became a producer, his first film was called Bird, which was about the great jazz saxophonist Charlie Parker. Clint Eastwood is in his 90s now, and he's one of Hollywood's prominent legendary actors. When I was at college and did GCSE English, my English horror was about Clint Eastwood. His first starring role was in a Western called Rawhide, a great actor who's still playing a great part through his producing of films. Thank you all.
Thanks, Steve. We all remember Rowdy Yates. He was the character he played in Rawhide.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the tune went dun, 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 something like that. Anyway, can't be too sure. Memories fade in these days.
Bonanza.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
There you go. Memories fading. Gordon, have you got any more for us, please, sir?
Yes, I've sorted out two pieces. One is topical. It's on the button really. It's another sketch of the day, and the other one is one that I wrote years ago, and it's a bit long. So if it's, you'll have to bear with me with that.
Yeah.
So it's a sketch of the day, the 8th of the 9th, 2022. At 4:30 p.m. this day, visited by a nuclear event, a harsh but gentle quake shaking everybody. As the smile went out, I cried. Through the salty tsunami, it's hard to see the future. Best keep calm and carry on.
Amen.
That was my Queen piece. And this is the other piece. It's slightly different. Strangely, the old ones taught the young ones with insistence, difficulty, test, and punishment. And as strangely, the young ones accepted the wisdom, as without noticing, they became the old ones. And on the plateau, they couldn't find what the training had been for. So strangely, they taught the young ones with insistence, difficulty, test, and punishment. And as strangely, the young ones accepted the wisdom, as without noticing, they became the old ones. And on the plateau, they couldn't find what the training had been for. So strangely, they taught the young ones with insistence, difficulty, test, and punishment. And as strangely, the young ones accepted the wisdom, as without noticing, they became the old ones. And on the plateau, they couldn't find what the training had been for. So strangely, they taught the young ones with insistence, difficulty, test, and punishment. And as strangely, the young ones accepted the wisdom, as without noticing, they became the old ones. And on the plateau, they couldn't find what the training had been for. So strangely, they taught the young ones with insistence, difficulty, test, and punishment. And as strangely, the young ones accepted the wisdom, as without noticing, they became the old ones. And on the plateau, they couldn't find what the training had been for. So strangely. What do you think of that? What do you think of that then?
Well, words of wisdom there. It reminds me of a quote I read recently about someone moaning about how horrible young people are and what waste of time. And it was in Roman times. They were moaning about the next generation. Because we are, when we were young, we were the next generation. We were the next generation, and it's very profound what you said there, Gordon. I enjoyed that. The wheels on the bus go round and round.
It does actually go on and on and on, you see.
Yes, it's good.
I thought you might go to sleep, so I thought I better shut up.
No, you made your point there very well. Have you got another one for us, or you?
Well, I've got Blossom is trying to sort something out.
I just wondered, because he's a pacifist, so I just wondered about the death.
Okay.
Oh well, I've got one here. I have got one here. If you want me to read it,
right?
It's called your pacifist thing. It's called the Deathscape.
The Deathscapade.
Oh, the Deathscapade. The
Deathscapade. Yeah, got it. Yeah.
As opposed to escapade. The Deathscapade. They danced to the whistle and the rattle of the guns at the celebrated killings in Europe of the sons, and glorious the comings at the lustings with the Huns. Let us be ashamed. They eagerly attended the Sarajevo rave, sanitized and dressed to kill as worthy of the brave, and were ordered, choose mass suicide or firing squad to grave. Let us be ashamed. To eulogize the madness is the madness to compound, as bits of meat and supper, were scattered to the ground, and within the zings of terror, unheeded screaming sound. Let us be ashamed.
That is lovely, Gordon. It's great.
Well done, Gordon.
It reminds me of Kipling. You know, Kipling lost his son in the First World War.
Yeah.
And he wrote this very tiny poem.
Yeah.
And it said, and when they asked us why we died, tell them because our fathers lied.
Yeah, I know that piece. I've
Yeah.
actually quoted it in another piece about the First World War.
Yeah.
Called Shell Shocked. And
Yeah.
I might read that to you next time round. If,
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Thank you, Gordon.
Right.
Lovely poems there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move to Jim.
Great, Jim.
Yeah, the first poem is called Towards Armageddon. Extremists arise, the center collapses. Assassins gather in hand-woven suits. Religion's a cipher controlled by fanatics. Voters are puppets, get treated like fools. Clowns are aplenty pursuing high office, while priests are cited for child abuse. The internet world is the one that matters. Just buy the products, no time to lose. Where's the love, you say? Where's the magic? Is there a place where sanity rules? Some talk of oceans being strangled by plastic. Threats to our wildlife, just what shall we do? Questions are asked, but no one will answer. Nuclear weapons are awaiting their use. An aging despot will one day gain access with prognosis of cancer. He's nothing to lose. Vicious, brutal, magnificent, enraptured, cash-driven, false, surreal, and doomed. Our world's no place for the weak or the timid, when so many dance to the piper's tune. Yeah, that was written before the before all this sort of thing happened. I mean, everyone could see it was going to happen. Yeah, and the second one is kind of more or less the same thing. You probably know about Bruce Springsteen. It's called Born in the USA. Money is worshipped by faux Christian Mammonites. Dark irrationalism holds sway as concealed self-hatred projects itself on scapegoats. Transient buffoons strut the stage, then exit with bulging pockets, their soul and enduring purpose fulfilled. Now discord and discord and civil war approach. Internecine militias gather as China waits to pounce. Meanwhile, political gladiators hold up severed heads, yell, "Have you been entertained?" And somewhere in the pouring rain, Bruce Springsteen is singing, "Born in the USA."
Yeah. Nice one.
Home of the brave.
All right. I found one that I rather like, and it will go at any error. I think I stick with this one. It's called In Transition. Just face it. The news never stops announcing you're in transition, a condition compelling you to change. Adding or subtracting some features could cause some derision when your lineage begins to appear rather strange. They won't need a mask, they'll have grown one instead. And if any virus should be a threat, future Homo sapiens Atenai will flash red. There'll be a haute couture a la Hermes hazmat suit styles, with new colours in spray wash, crease-free synthetic textiles. Problems in propagation will never arise. Science labs will perpetuate a stock of supplies. There will never exist a being's family tree. Just reference serial numbers to infinity. Groups of two, keen to raise the Petri dish community, will take up seasonal offers of your young specimen for $3. I'll read my last one now. I think we are going into another phase on this planet, but it's not to do with this. This is called In Retrospect, about Liz Truss when she became Prime Minister. So what did you really expect? O'Leary's at home and henpecked. Truss concentrates with her head down, trying hard to calculate and not frown, but competes with Bojo, the partying clown. as she's already philandered, adding to her new renown. Think twice again in retrospect. You don't need to respect any party's PM who's a surefire reject. They believe they're the saviour the Vox Populi would elect, but they're brilliant in ensuring the UK would be wrecked. Suez and Eden's Dilemma and Blair and Brown's WPD, null and void, managed to stir up their imagination, but unnecessary lives were destroyed. You can't take a leader for granted as they cosily cling to the helm. As ever, these isles will suffer, and metaphors to a minuscule realm. So that might happen. Do you think so, Mr. Hoyles? Oh, you made me reflect. I think so anyhow. So it came very easily. But I keep thinking that we're going to transition to something over the years.
Who knows? Who knows?
Continuez, s'il vous plaît.
Who knows?
Who knows? Try it.
Yes.
Well, I just told you what I knew.
Well,
Don't
you
know
think,
much.
if you told me what you think, you didn't tell me what you knew.
Right, well, I think
Yes.
not that much.
Good. Anyway, lovely poems. Thank you. Lorraine.
welcome.
You're spot on as usual, topical and witty. Thank you.
Well, I'm here all the time by myself and nobody comes in, so nobody interferes with anything. I can do what I like.
Stream of consciousness. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I'm going to move over to Alan.
Hi there.
Hi, Alan.
A childhood memory, this one. It's called Three Churches. He sat in the kitchen waiting for his friend. It always felt dull and oppressive. His friend was never ready. He was a boy, perpetually late. He didn't like waiting for him because he didn't want to meet his dad. His dad was a God-fearing man, abrupt. The house full of Hail Marys and Our Fathers. The dad had called the boy's family heathens once. The boy didn't like him. On the windowsill by the door was a Bible. Its blackness added to the kitchen's gloom and oppression. In the kitchen's silence, he could hear distant drawers and cupboards being opened and closed and shuffling about. His friend's dad was a fire and brimstone man, unyielding in his way. Every Sunday, he would drag his family up the hill to church, closer to God, he said. None of his family wanted to go, but it was their duty, he told them. On Sunday, the boy's dad never dragged his family to church. He went off at lunchtime to a different church. Here he consulted with friends to ease his problems. Them and the Barstool sages had seen and experienced many things. They cajoled, advised, and had laughed in the face of adversity. This didn't make them bad people. They knew the difference between good and bad, and right and wrong. They were strong, kind, and supportive. His dad's church was a church that sold beer. Still waiting for his friend, he pondered that Bible. This caused him to think about his religious education at school. It was compulsory, but he didn't understand it. It all seemed like riddles. He found it hard to comprehend and find any meaning in them. He dismissed them, wanting straightforward answers, not beating about the burning bush. After all, he was only 12 and he knew right from wrong, was kind to others. What more did he need to know? The kitchen door opened, his friend rushed in, apologised. They threw their bags over their shoulders and left the kitchen's gloom behind. Stepping out into the morning sunlight, they made their way up the hill to that other church of learning, school. When the boy was old enough, he went with his dad to the church that sold beer on Sunday lunchtimes. Thank you.
Nice one.
This one again is another childhood one. Apparently, it's the 100th anniversary of the Wasteland, and the Wasteland which is next month, and the Wasteland is the theme for the Croydon poetry. So this is my version on it. Not that I've studied it. So obviously it's called The Wasteland. Was it worth fighting for? Of course, every day for 6 weeks. The dirt dry and dust spun like dervishes created by the wind through the fallen buildings. The debris, the ground sun-baked, scarred by weather-beaten floor joists, roofing, concrete and brick. Amongst the rubble, two armies face each other, once again preparing to fight to the death, or that was what they thought. Sniping came from the flanks, skirmishes on the periphery, taunts called across no man's land. In their ragged fatigues, they crawled closer, their oversized helmets swaying on their heads, gas masks at the ready. Orders came down the line. They were committed to battle. Charge, came the cry, as simultaneously the two warring factions rose and surged forward, dirt bombs exploding, cat guns fired at will, Tommy guns let rip their clatter, small brick fragments hurled, bouncing from the ground to graze legs. Still, they pushed closer to the enemy until all their ammunition was spent. Time to regroup and rearm. Back in their bunkers and relative safety, they celebrated their minor victory. Sherbet lemons were brought from pockets. The sticky paper bags gave up their treasures as the armies prepared to hold the precious new gained ground. Behind enemy lines came shouting and abuse. Turning, they saw a man prepared to take on both armies. It was as if he had risen from the dead. He was filthy. They all felt a shiver run through their bodies. Here stood a wild man with matted hair and beard, wild emerald eyes that seemed to peer into the soul. His oversized coat held closed with string. He struck fear into all that laid eyes on him. He waved a fist, continuing his ravings, then stopped to take a swig from the bottle in his right hand. Out of fear of this man, a truce was called. All armies decided to retreat. Pushing the bottom of a corrugated iron panel, they crawled through it and back to reality. For these kids, it was a portal to another time. A time that grandparents, uncles, and parents rarely spoke of when they returned from their war. The kids fought their wars on land created by that war. After the heavy bombing of London's docks, returning Nazi planes would drop any undelivered bombs on residential areas, destroying lives, homes, and businesses. In the school summer holidays, these bomb site wastelands were where they fought their battles.
Oh,
Thank you.
Wonderful.
So so I was brought up in New Cross Gate, and it was like just a few miles from Millwall Docks. So anything that wasn't dropped there, as they turned, it was all just dropped. So many a summer spent down there.
Mm. I wrote a poem a long time ago called "We Played on the Bomb Sites, Billy and Me, Seen of Other People's Misery," and that was very much about all these little kids chucking bricks at each other, thinking they were grenades. I mean, what were we like? Little savages when we were little, you know.
When you look back when I look back on it now, it's like not something that that would even contemplate, but
no,
everybody did it.
No. Anyway, that's very, very nice. Is that it for now, Alan? Or you?
I've got one more shorter one if you'd like.
We've got loads of time.
Okay, this is called Just Waiting. He was waiting by the shops in the shade, stargazing, some might say, but he was just waiting. The world went on around him, oblivious of him, yet waiting for him to make his move. He watched with an empty mind. Nothing new there, some might say. He continued waiting. Thoughts came and went, people did the same. Nothing held his interest. He felt the heat of the buildings on his body. An awareness made him more alert, brought him back to the now, a warmth by his side. Then the touch, small and smooth, slid into his hand, soft, caressing, then grip. The grip warm, loving, welcoming. Fully aware of his presence, he clasped his hand around hers. "Come on, Grandad," she said. Then they walked in synchronicity, chatting to his car. Thank you.
Lovely as usual, Alan. Thank you very much.
That was for my granddaughter.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought it might be. Lovely. That's sort of warm human touch to that one. Jane, have you got anything for us, please?
Yes, I do. Now, I could say that I'm about to lower the tone, but I won't, because I was really pleased to have heard the positive references made by Gordon and you, George, about children and young people, because I chose some poems from my children's book called Mosquito Bounce. And I did this because I went into a depression over the COVID period, losing lots of people, including our lovely, your lovely Irma, George. And I just thought, my goodness me, I mean, up to about 10 people, yeah, just gone. And then the children are the ones who've lifted me out. I'm now invited back into schools and libraries. And the children, of their honesty, their humor, they're just incredible. Like one little boy saying, "Miss, you're very old." I said, "Really? How old do you think I am?" He says, 99. because I had said, come on, you know, I'm 100 years old and I can do this rhyme, right? So why are you saying, you know, po-faced, 10-year-olds? "Oh, Miss, 99." And somebody else said 97, being a bit kinder. They are wonderful. So I'm going to read from my children's book. The first one, the first one I'm going to read is, where is it? I misplaced it, but anyway, I'll read My neighbors. My neighbors are noisy, funny, wacky, and here's the proof. It could have been thunder tiptoeing on rollerblades across the sky, or a pair of talking drums rumbling out the latest village gossip. But no, it was only the Pettifers from number 9A moving their furniture around again. It could have been an antique fire engine trundling down our road, or an enthusiastic dentist drilling till she dropped. But no, it was only sad Sabrina from over the road practicing her violin while popping bubblegum. It could have been a couple of elephants stomping on our roof, or an army of bobbies pounding the beat. But no, it was only the Gopal Singhs from upstairs showing off the salsa dancing skills. It could have been a fast train hooting through a tunnel, or a hungry hyena coming face to face with his dinner. But no, it was only the Reverend Bill from Vicarage House enjoying an hour of comedy on TV. It could have been the Seven Dwarfs, one of the Seven Dwarfs prancing in fancy dress, or Anansi's spider twirling in Joseph's multicolored dream coat. Oh no, it was only Mr. Enduzi from next door, shuffling off to his niece's wedding in Leytonstone. My neighbors, wacky, funny, noisy. Come to think of it, I wonder what they think of me.
That's good.
So that's one. This one's called Dreaming for Change. I dreamt the world was a sea of plastic. Plastic trees with plastic leaves, beneath which dry plastic streams shed silent tears. I dreamt I was a bird stuck in a branch with broken wings, dying. A fish swimming against pollution's tide, fins torn, gasping. The last surviving earthworm burrowing in vain for clean soil, shriveling. I watched as every consumer item slowly unwrapped from its elaborate packaging, as fruit and vegetables tumbled out of individual plastic bags, filling dustbins to overflowing with no more room for household refuse, fast spilling onto every street, leaving the air, oceans, our planet with such stench and horror that I woke up convinced there was no sense in sleeping if I couldn't sleep, if I couldn't dream to change the world.
Wow, it's good.
I'll just read one last small one. It's called Freedom Wings. Freedom Wings. I got space to play the clown. Worries never get me down. I got space between each pulse, so my heart can't play me false. From my head down to my toe, from my shoulder to elbow, I got space to fool around with my feet still on the ground. I got space within my bones, not uptight like Mr. Jones, lots of space to move my hips, dancing to my fingertips. I got space to laugh out loud, at times cry. Why, I'm not proud. I got space to live my life. I got space to deal with strife. I got space to dream and love. Thank my lucky stars above. I got space beneath my wings. I got wings to set me free. I'm so lucky to be me. There's the illustration. Little child with wings.
Oh, Jane. You're our very own Maya Angelou. That last
Oh,
poem.
thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I loved it.
Thank you.
Anytime, yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And,
Your
and,
children.
you just take us there. You took us to like multicultural London, then you take us somewhere else, and you take us somewhere.
I'm funny children. They're wonderful. They really are.
Thank
The
you.
little one's 3 years old. The 4 said, Miss, your hands are old. So honest. I mean, if you told me that, I'd be cross with I. But with her, and she was beaming with, the front teeth missing when they put, the baby teeth gone. And she's giving me the biggest smile to tell me my hands were old. Yes. Thank you very much for listening to my rattling on.
No, three wonderful poems, and the scope you do is amazing. Thank you. So, Anthony, have you anything for us, Anthony, please?
Yeah, I got 2 poems.
Thank you.
This is about my dad's broken relationship.
Oh.
He's 84. It was a long time coming, but now she wants her escape, weekends to replenish her sleepless nights. She has a gypsy's travel lust, complains, never gets cuddles, walks over her men, liking herself to Marmite. You are forced to either love or hate her. She's got a toxic relationship now. Where is her humanity and true voice of what she's really feeling? Never talks politics despite reading the Mail. Seeks a bad reaction every time, never gave him a chance. Where does your gentleman lay, with broken hearts never happy now?
Ah, it's sad.
Yes, it is a toxic relationship. Right, and here's another poem. You could afford a pink bathroom, but had a frayed t-shirt. You sat bitter and had mechanical 1970s whiskers. But I'm interested in your mind. I'm quite listenable. I want to taste your Thunderbird wine and deserve to be serenely addressed by you.
Nice one, Anthony. Nice one.
You get better and better, Anthony. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lovely poems. Thank you. Wonderful. Brief, but to the point and very very meaningful. Heather, have you any more for us, please?
Yes, I have 2, if that's okay. I couldn't find the poem which was written by somebody else about Abraham Lincoln, so I just dug out 2 of mine.
Okay. Yes, please.
The first one is called Us and Them, and that was inspired by the pandemic. Us and Them. Fear and dread strolls freely among us, as the lopsided do pass on among us. The gags which once smothered the smiles among us, yet still we are not. Regret now reigns freely for most among us. The strain of it all rains down among us, as the night sleeps less for most among us, yet still we are not. Caskets now busy many hands among us. Furnaces flicker their flames of fun among us, reminding us of the certainties of uncertainties among us, yet still we are not. Regretful curses do sound among us, transporting fists and suspicion among us, yet the truths of it all remain aloof among us, yet still we are not. The privileged frown at their new luck among us, whilst most reside among lack among us. Silences do stifle many an ear among us, yet still we are not. Diseasing together we may do that among us, of mind and body and soul among us. but there will always be an us and a them among us, and thus we are not. And the second one is, it's called A Spectre is Haunting. A spectre is haunting as a hard hail is falling. The sky is plotting whilst hinting its reckoning. The sun stays hidden, yet red and blistering. The east is bubbling as the west flirts its denying. Clouds are hurrying above birds that are scattering. Lined pegs threaten to greet each direction. Wild beasts encroaching with more plagues for sharing. Gusts are building to fan flames now heightening. Grounds are opening as mouths hungering. They swallow their victims, their works and their dwellings. Rivers are reddening with a new form of blooding. North ices crumble as ghost sheets in their melting. The mud is now moving and slipping and sliding. White frowns stare back at shelves that seem starving. The end is now nearing as the book once preaching. Still the privileged are singing their tunes of damned bleating. Take heed of this warning of the crime which is lurking, for it hints in our dreaming and through wide awake sleeping. No voter is it, no lover is it, no hater is it, of difference does it, but coming it is, so slowly creeps it, to shake us will it as a cock's tail vows it. That's it.
That is good.
It is, Steve. It is. It's. I've knocked out with the poetry tonight. It's some really good stuff. Wow. I'd like to Zoom for the rest of my life. Now, so is that it, Heather? You okay? Okay. Peter, have you got anything for us, please?
Right, another couple of poems by Sheena Pugh.
Okay.
Bolshes. In the last days of a lost war, a man occupying a Brussels office made time for spite, signed an order to send one final trainload down the line to the death camps. And his secretary typed it, and a clerk bespoke the train, and policemen who had no heart for the job loaded the prisoners anyway. But then it was all down to the lads on the line, the drivers, the signalmen, the track gangs, and all of a sudden points seized up. Urgent repairs took days. You couldn't lay your hands on spare parts. Wrong set signals sent the train trundling in circles, while the Bolshie branch rep wheeled out his trusty, well-oiled excuses. And when peace finally turned up ahead of the spare parts, when the prisoners could all change trains and the bosses commenced awarding themselves medals, the lads went back to looking out for each other, fiddling timesheets, arguing over demarcation lines, doing their best to balk each jack in office who tried to make the trains run on time. And envying Owen Beatty. To have stood on the Arctic island by the graves where Franklin's men buried their shipmates, good enough. To hack through the permafrost to the coffin, its loving plaque cut from a tin can, better. And freeing the lid, seeing the young sailor cocooned in ice, asleep in his glass case, then melting it so gently, inch by inch, 100 years and more falling away, all the distance of death, a soft hiss of steam on the air, till at last they cupped 2 feet bare and perfect in their hands, and choked up, because it was any feet poking out of the bedclothes. And when the calm, pinched 20-year-old face came free, and he lay there, 5'4" authentic Victorian adventurer, tuberculous, malnourished, John Torrington the stoker, who came so far in the cold, and someone whispered, "It's like he's unconscious." Then Beatty stooped, lifted him out of bed, the 6-stone limp in his arms, and the head lolled and rested on his shoulder, and he felt the rush that reckless trust sends through parents and lovers. To have him like that, the frail, diseased little time traveller, to feel the lashes prickle your cheek, to be that close to the parted lips. You would know all the fairy tales spoke true. How could you not try to wake him with a kiss?
Wow.
She's an amazing poet, isn't she? She hits history on the head. He might have killed loads of Jews, but he made the trains run on time. Gee, terrible, terrible. Anyway, few poems. This poem was inspired by walking with my dog, and I saw these crows attacking a kestrel, and it brought this poem on. Through sun-filtered cloud, the kestrel flies. For one brief moment, lord of the skies, defying gravity, statue still, keen eyes scanning both hollow and hill. From a lower level, black shapes emerge, a reverse vortex at the verge of vision, seeking top position. Circling crows start their war of attrition. Rising higher, the gang then attack. The solitary kestrel first fights back. The silent bird twists, then spins and wheels. Harsh cawing crows at the kestrel's heels. Just when it seems to be the crow's day, their attack is spent and they fade away. Despite their numbers, try as they might, their energies sapped in reaching that height. As soon as they flap towards their nest, the kestrel resumes its quiet quest. I thought that was a bit kind of analogous with Russia invading Ukraine. Anyway, it's just.
Yeah, George, that's exactly what I was thinking. As you read it, I was thinking about Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hordes come in and it's sort of power and, they overreach. I was thinking about poetry the other day, and I thought about how much we use metaphor and simile. And then I thought of a love poem called Similarly in Love. Similarly in Love. It's another new mate. I heard a made-up word tonight, which was quite good. I can't remember it, but I heard one and I thought, wow. I find so many similes when I think of you. Your word straight as an arrow when its aim is true. Like a mother holds a baby, I find your arms are gentle. Like a statue on a plinth, I find you monumental. Like time lost within a maze, our minutes turn to days. Like a pirate who finds treasure, you're a jewel chest full of pleasure. Like a skylark in the sky, I fly with you so high. I like cream stirred in my coffee, you lighten days for me. You're like each step of the morning walk when we find time to talk. It's like I live within your smiles. Now we've walked so many miles. And when we finally lay to rest, it's like the time I like the best. And this is one I've written for my dog, Lemmy, who's alongside me still, unfortunately, hogging the sofa. It's called It's a Dog's Life. I am the faithful owner, so when he waves his magic wand, I'm there in the first instant to obey each dog command. He jumps up on the sofa where he deigns to have a talk, howls out his instructions, which could mean it's time to walk. Then I find he takes me uphill and over dale. I puff hard to try to keep up behind the wagging tail. I am the faithful owner, and when we've wandered far, it's me who waits like a good boy till he comes back to the car. Often coated in mud and muck, that's when he thinks that's when he needs a bath. His look said, "Don't you chance your luck, or are you trying to have a laugh?" Then I try to die Then tried to dry him as I might. He shakes his wet fur on the walls, when for all the world it's like the house is struck by rainy squalls. I am the faithful owner, quite well trained by my dog. Before meals, he's a whiner and groaner. In his hunger, I'm the helpful cog. When he takes me out for a meeting, he'll hide from public view. His sociability's fleeting until he has confidence in you. Behind his back, I'll say he's the oddest oddity, stumpy tail and the weirdest eyes. Life with him is like an odyssey. Each day is a new surprise. I think he's got me trained. To meet his every whim. Strangely, I'm no longer drained since sharing life with him. And this is a little triolet, in other words, 3 haikus stuck together. This is called Weather Change Trilogy. After the rain, my footsteps in the woods squelch and no longer crackle. After the rain, the dust laid lone, reuniting with the earth that bore it. After the rain, the hollows are filled, grateful birds drink away summer. So, one more, do you want another one? Give you one more. This is a bit of a weirdo one. It's called On Angels and Angles. I'm caught up in the angles of a glass hexagonal prism with sharp corners everywhere. There's nowhere I can move to in escaping from life's schism. But I ask myself, what do you care? It's not like a goldfish who lives in a bowl, though that is sad enough. I'm just trapped in a see-through world where I need to find my soul. Are you worried I find things tough? Some say it helps to pray, but angels don't pass by this way. It's where they fear to tread, this land of the living dead. Also, they're not much seen far from heaven's stairway. So if you should see an angel, could you let me know someday? Anyway, that's it. Right, that's it. Well, hey, thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I really enjoyed tonight, and it's
Thank
lovely
you.
to see new people coming to Poets Anonymous, and I hope you stick with us.
Do my best, yeah.
Yes,
It's lovely.
the next Zoom will be the 3rd Friday of October.
Third Friday of
Third
October,
Friday
yeah.
of October. Okay.
Thank
I
you
will
very
send
much.
out details before then, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We, as you know, we're quite an eclectic sort of bunch, and I love I'd like to see some more younger people come, but you know, they do occasionally, and then they go
Yeah.
away again for some
They
reason.
do. Yes, one did, yes.
Yeah, yes,
Because
I think.
grown-ups make them feel less than they are, I think.
Well,
Anyway,
maybe
good
they
night,
think
everybody.
I hope they don't think they've entered the world of the living dead. You know.